Hello again, and just checking my time here. We have this is a story I wrote to illustrate a bit of a mystery, I guess, following on from the unexplained. It's called The Atlantis Secret, fiction by T.J. Gurnin. It's me. This takes place at the fall of Carthage. The figure dashed furtively down the corridor, tendrils of smoke reaching after him. Far above he could hear the cries of the people, his people, and the angry shouts of the soldiers. Suddenly, part of the roof collapsed in front of him, sending thick dust into his eyes and nostrils. He staggered back, clutching a thin scroll close to his chest. Strengthening his resolve, he pushed on, finally making it to the secret underground aqueduct deep beneath the city. He was about to step onto a small boat moored there when the ceiling above the tunnel exit collapsed in a shower of smoke and fire. Rising shaking from the ground, he listened to the far-off screams and shouting. It was only a matter of time before they came this way. They would find him. They would find his scroll of secrets. Bowing his head, he opened the scroll, examining what he had written there many years ago. He closed his eyes and remembered how it all began. It was the day after his 14th birthday. His father had taken him aside. They sat in the garden, sunlight making leafy shadows play across the ground at their feet. "Son," his father began, what I'm about to tell you, you must never tell anyone save your son, when, if by God's grace he himself comes into being and of age." His father studied his face to gauge his reaction, but he sat resolute, ready. His father nodded, closing his eyes, then continued. "In the beginning there was water, water above, water below. The water gave life, and the water took it away. A people grew, strong on the mountainsides, and came down to make cities on the plains. But their arrogance caused the anger in the heavenly places, and they were scattered across the earth. One of them was the ancestor of our people, Ba'aladan, brave and strong, and feared not when the land ended and the waters began. He knew the secrets of the stars, where they showed the tracks across the heavens, and his sons made great ships to rule the waters and possess the earth from end to end, from shore to shining shore. Arriving first, they made their home on Ba'alatal. They built great cities with navigable waterways, and all the earth knew of their greatness and many of the wonders they traded across the earth. None but they knew whither they went. None could cross the sea. None knew of their seasons, nor the star that guided them in the darkness of the night. Loaded with wealth was our ancient homeland, till jealous the heavens grew. The star they worshipped fell, to the waters she fell, cast down from those jealous heavens, and the seas she consumed. Arising in great wrath, the seas rose up. 1,000 water horses bore Yaamante in his chariot, and he drove our homeland far to the west. Fire consumed cities, water lapped up our riches, and none who lived there lived to tell of their sorrow. When our brave sailors came from afar, they found Ba'alatal not, and it was said, and made a report that it was lost, but we knew, and made voyages there, and saw that naught was left save the memory of it. His father paused, sighing heavily, then drew the secret symbols with a stick in the dirt at our feet. "They are a map, boy, and that," he pointed to the furthest western symbol, "is Ba'alatal." Author's note: my kids built a toy city in the kitchen while I was writing this and flooded it with water from the sink. How much time do I have? If we suppose, as the story does, that Atlantis was North America, when North America was connected to the European continent, then, according to legend, being located outside the Gates of Hercules, as was written by the ancient Greek, Plato or Aristotle, I'm not sure, would actually place Atlantis between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. However, and this is something I've thought of since then, the Greek civilization existed after the northern tribes had been taken into exile, just before Alexander the Great conquered the known world, Persia, right, the civilized world. So technically the Greek civilization is kind of a latecomer. So what that means is that because they had ancient libraries at the time that we don't have now, it's possible that that was actually a flood story. I mean, think about it. There was a people, they lived, and they were wicked or whatever, I don't know, and then the waters came and covered them. Sounds like a flood story. Anyway, supposing that, well, he said beyond the Pillars of Hercules, and I think it's important to pay attention to little clues like that. So let's suppose that apart from in the flood and the creation theory, there were two movements of the Earth across the globe. That is, Pangaea, the supercontinent, didn't break up entirely at the time of the flood, just mostly. And there was another breakup at some other point, maybe at the time of Peleg, when it says the nations were divided. It's pure speculation on my part. The mountains in the story where human began as a center civilization post-flood refer to the Zagros Mountains in Iran. Traveling directly west from the highest peak adjacent to the cradle of civilization of Mesopotamia takes us to an incomplete baked brick ziggurat, a good candidate for the Tower of Babel, and you used to be able to see that in Google Earth, you probably still can. That is the plains of Shinar right there. The exact time for the separation of the continental plates in this scenario would be during the lifetime of the biblical Peleg, whose name means separation, about 150 years after the flood, if I remember rightly. This is all speculation. But talking about ancient history, from Abraham to the flood being not more than 700 years. So this is Nimrod, perhaps, was Sargon, right? Because the Bible says Nimrod, his kingdom reached to the Mediterranean. Sargon said the same thing. Tower of Nimrod is in the Mediterranean, and the city of Nimrod is Akkadian, which is like Nimrod. So there you go, a little bit of speculation there. Thanks for listening. See you next time.